Hello, my name's Nigel Cox and I'm the Senior Horticultural Lecturer at Bridgewater and Taunton College, and welcome to my occasional series of topics in various areas of horticulture. And today I'm talking about botany, and I want to look at the structure of the stem of a plant. Now we're going to be talking about dicot plants. Now these are plants which are flowering plants which branch out as they grow. Now I want you to think of the stem as rather like us growing up. A stem when it's young wants to go upwards, and the reason for that, it wants to get to the light and it wants to grow so that it can outcompete the animals that are going to chomp it off at the base. And as it grows, so it's growing upwards, and hormones are making it grow upwards. Now at a certain point with plants, dicot plants, they start to become woody, and rather like us, instead of going upwards, they go outwards. Now that first stage we call primary growth, and then the second stage we call secondary growth, rather unsurprisingly. Now I've got here a stem, and this is the stem of Chimonanthus praecox, which is the winter sweet. It's a lovely winter flowering shrub, and I recommend it if you would like to have a highly scented shrub to give you winter colour around Christmas time. Now here we see the stem, so I'm going to talk about the basic structure of the stem. Now we will always have a central stem going upwards. Off it eventually you may get branches, but primarily you've got the leaves along the stem, and then at the top you've got the growing point. Now at each junction here, and you can see here there's a junction, this is what we call a node. And if you look carefully, you can see just two small buds, one on either side. And at a certain point in the growth of the plant, once it stops growing upwards, those buds will break and grow outwards, and that's what we call lateral growth. Now, all of this is determined by hormones called auxins, and these auxins promote that rapid growth at the tip. So at the tip we have rapid growth. We call it a meristem, an apical meristem. Now you can see we've got leaves all the way down the plant, and at each node where the leaves join the stem, you'll find the side buds, which are called axillary buds. Now the leaves basically are there to photosynthesize. They're like giant solar panels, and the sun's going to fall on them, and that's going to help to produce the food that the plant needs to produce energy to grow. If I was to pinch out the top of this stem, then the outer branches, the side branches, would grow outwards, and it would start to become bushy, and we call this pinching out, and that's how you can create very bushy plants. Now there's another thing I want you to look at this stem. There's a distance between one node and the next, can you see, from there to there, and this is called an internode. And that internode on some plants will be very short, and on some will be quite long, and that will dictate the size and height of the plant. Now in addition, I want to show you two different types of leaf arrangements. Now can you see on this, the leaves are opposite each other on the stem. They actually go different 90 degrees as they go up, but they're opposite, and we call that opposite leaves. So if you've got a leaf on either side of the stem in exactly the same place, it's an opposite leaves. Now on this one here, you can see on this one, these aren't opposite each other, they actually are staggered up the stem, and we call those alternate leaves. Now this is an important part of playing the part of identifying the type of plant, because whether it's an opposite or alternate leaf might give you an idea of what genus the plant may fall into. Now in addition to this, you can also get what we call whorled leaves, where you have a series of 3 or more leaves in one area, so they go up like a pyramid. So this is an interesting part of the whole process of the way the stem grows and the way we identify plants. Now as far as the leaves are concerned, these are attached to the main stem by a petiole. It's a stalk basically. Now some leaves are attached to the stem without a petiole, and we call those sessile leaves. And again, this is another thing which will help you to be able to identify the plant family. Now, one other thing on this, and this stem has become very woody, and you may see along the stem little spots along the stem. It sort of looks like freckles on the stem, and these are called lenticels, and the lenticels enable the plant to take moisture out of the air deep into the center of the stems. Now, this is very woody. This is a woody shrub. At the top it's still very young and sappy, but we start sappy and it gradually gets harder, and as it gets harder we call that lignification. So a stem is the most important part of the plant in terms of its what lies above the ground. And so at the top of this, eventually you'll get your flowers, and of course the flowers are the most important part of the plant, because that's where sexual reproduction occurs, and the only reason a plant flowers is so that it can produce a new generation. And I'll deal with that in another video. I'll also deal with what goes on underneath the ground in the roots, and of course the roots are really important, because without the roots nothing else in the plant will survive. So there you have it, the stem. I will return soon with another video, and until then, good gardening. And this is actually a lovely October summer. It feels like a summer's day in October, so make the most of the weather whenever you can.